Thank you. That was nice of you. This is going to be a little confessional. I'm trying to figure out my mother as a person. Her decisions don't make any sense to me. This is in part because she's a libertarian, which is to say she is almost a criminal. So it's just her behavior is confusing. Like watching my mother is like watching a movie with The Rock in it. The whole time you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. To wit, 6 years ago, I drove my mother home from my cousin's Christmas party. Right, I gotta use the bank machine. I put on the hazards, I go use the bank machine. I'm getting back in the car, and another car is pulled up behind us and just laid on the horn. Now, we are on a 4-lane street. It is midnight on Christmas Eve. We are literally the only 2 cars on the road. This guy pulls up behind me and he's like, great, traffic, and lays on the horn. And I'm getting in the car, I'm like, buddy, what do you want me to do? I'm getting into the car right now, I can't do this any faster. And I don't know what's going on in his head, right? Like he had a bad day at the mall, they were out of Furbies, like now his kids hate him. He's got a lot going on his plate, and he can't handle it, so he just guns it right into my car. Just smashes into the trunk, reverses, and goes. And I'm like, are you serious, son? I'm like, you gotta get out of your car, because we gotta exchange insurance information. And then, but I don't know what's going on. Like I can see in his eyes, like he's messed up or something. He's crazy, like he's on crystal meth or something. Because I can see in his eyes, he's just looking at me like, I gotta kill this dragon, or something. Because I'm just standing there, I'm yelling at him, and he just guns it right into me. Just hits me with his car, like I land on the hood, and I jump up, and now I'm furious. I'm like, now you gotta get out of your car, because we gotta fight, and also exchange insurance information. And I'm yelling at him, he's yelling at me, unseen by either of us. My mother has gotten out of the passenger seat of my car, run behind both cars, and through his open window, reaches in and strangles him. And can you imagine how crazy that is for this guy who's just out on Christmas Eve doing a little crystal meth like a citizen would. And then he runs into a dragon, and one of the dragon's little buddies tries to murder him? Can you imagine? How crazy. So he just like freaks out and like guns it and swerves around me and takes off. And it sounds like the story is over because you assume my mother let go. Nope. My mother ran alongside a moving vehicle choking a man until it built up enough speed she got thrown clear, and she just like slid like 35, 40 feet on the wet cement in her white fur coat. My mother's P. Diddy. Just slid. And I'm freaking out. She's 58 years old at the time, right? She could have like broken her leg or ruined her face or something. I run over, I'm so concerned. I'm like, Mom, are you okay? Are you okay? My mom jumps up and says, we're going after him. What did you like, Mom, it's not Vigilantes Eve. Although that would be a sweet movie for The Rock to be in. But. And I was like, what are we gonna do? You and me against a crystal meth addict. What are we gonna do? And my mom said 2 words you never think your mother's gonna say to you. She said, street justice. What are you talking about, man? My mom she will take the law into her own hands. She doesn't care, man. My mother phoned me in February, and she was just like, hey, I had a bit of an interesting day today. The cops were knocking on my door. And I was like, oh, crazy, wow, what happened? And as though she had forgotten a detail in the story, she said, oh, I threatened to kill a woman. All right, Mom, what happened? And so she's walking her dog in the park, right? And the dog is off the leash, sees these 2 guys in the park, runs over, starts barking. And there's a crazy lady who lives in my mother's neighborhood who hates my mother and hates her dog. She's not even in the park. She sees the dog barking in the park, runs in and kicks the dog. And my mother has a little tiny dog. Like it's a small, and maybe that was obvious to you guys, because if my mother had a Rottweiler, her story would be, I was in the park today and nothing happened. So. But my mother, when she tells a story, she does this thing where she removes all of her guilty actions from her version. It comes sanitized of her culpability, so you gotta read between the lines and make a story that makes sense with her shambles. And so she's telling me the story, and she's like, you know what, they said I hit her. I didn't hit her. And then I knew immediately, for sure, she hit her. She punched this woman in the face. And she's like, and I didn't say I was gonna kill her. I didn't say that. She kicked my dog, I saw red. I ran over there, I said, if you ever touch my goddamn dog again, I'm gonna kick you. I'm like, it even sounds dubbed when you retell it. So the crazy lady is like, I'm gonna call the cops. And Mom's like, fine, I don't care, call the cops. I don't believe in the cops. And I'm like, Mom, the cops are not fictitious. It's not like a roving band of unicorns with uniforms solving crimes. And so later that afternoon, there's pounding on my mom's place on the door, and it's the cops. And my mom is telling me the story, and she's like, at first, I didn't even answer it. Like that's how crimes go unsolved. Well, we were knocking on the drug dealer's door, Lieutenant, but they weren't home, so cold case file, right? Yep, you're getting a promotion, Constable. So eventually she answers the door, and she gets off scot-free because my mother, for two reasons. One, the person who reported this crime is a crazy lady. So, like, you know, the lady is just like, oh, this dog is a vicious menace, and I had to act. And then the cops come to the door, and the dog runs up, and the dog is wearing a sweater. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not dangerous, size of a burrito. And then also, the other reason is my mom's telling me the story, and she's like, you know, and they're asking me questions, and you know how you never tell the truth to cops, right? Yeah, I know that's your rule, Mom. Because I remember when I was 10, my mom took me and my brother to Buffalo for a little cross-border shopping, and then, okay, do you love shopping or borders? Okay, you sound crazy, just like my mother. Yeah. She's even applauding her own craziness. Oh my God, it's just like being at home. My mother took us cross-border shopping, and then when we came back across the border, we ran the border. We just, because my mom, you know, was doing more than her share of cross-border shopping. We pull up to the customs, and the guy is like, do you have anything to declare? And Mom was like, just souvenirs, and didn't mention the $1,000 worth of vodka in the trunk. And then the guy was like, can you just pull up here for an inspection? And my mom was like, of course. And then as we edged ahead, she turned to me and my brother and said, I think we can outrun them. And then we did. So I know her policy, so she's not afraid to lie to a cop, so she told all the same lies that she told me, like, I said kick, not kill, and I never punched her. And then she almost got tripped up because, like, the cops were like, well, if you never punched her, ma'am, how come when we interviewed her a half an hour ago, she had a black eye? And my mom was like, I don't know, street justice. All right, you guys are lovely. Thanks so much.